Welcome to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Adjemi, powered by the Retirement Income Store and brought to you by Adjemi Financial Strategies in Guilford, Connecticut and Denver, Colorado.
Did Ronald Reagan change history? Well, we all change history in our own way. And the more interesting question is, what changed Ronald Reagan? What changed a labor advocate with enough street creed to get elected president of Hollywood's Actors Union into a labor-bashing extraordinaire? What turned Reagan, the standard issue New Deal Democrat, into the 20th century's premier pusher for almost entirely unrestrained free enterprise? The answer? According to Reagan himself, the federal income tax, specifically over 90% top rate on top bracket income that went into effect during World War II, changed Ronald Reagan. That tax levy absolutely incensed the amiable actor. At his Hollywood height, actor Ronnie Reagan was making $400,000 per picture. With the top federal bracket being over 90%, Reagan used to tell his White House chief of staff, Donald Regan, he always chose to loaf around rather than make more than 2 pictures a year. Why should I have done a third picture, even if it was Gone with the Wind? Regan remembers Reagan asking. What good would it have done me? I'm Andrew Adjemi.
And I'm Daniel Adjemi, and this is Financial Strategies. Today we're talking about IRA contributions and tax strategies. That's an interesting story there about the fact that taxes were 90%.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting situation with the rest of the story for that, Daniel, according to how Paul Harvey would say, right, was the fact that President Roosevelt in April of 1942 wanted to institute a 100% tax rate. And his thinking was that nobody should be taking home more than $25,000 a year. And at that time, if we equate that to today's dollars, that'd be about $335,000 a year. And so Reagan, as upset as he was about the tax rate, could have been a whole lot worse than it was. And, that's why today we're glad to have you back to Financial Strategies with Andrew Daniel Adjemi. We're talking today is if it's tax-free, it's for me. Tax season is upon us. And we're looking at how can we save taxes? What can be done? And some of the things we're talking about today, we want to make sure that you don't try this at home without having a tax counsel and help to be able to make sure that you're doing things in the proper form or fashion, because if you make one mistake, it could be detrimental. But very interesting what changed Ronald Reagan. And, we work hard for our money, and we don't mind paying the taxes that we're supposed to pay, but we don't want to pay any more than what our fair share is, right, Daniel?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's our duty to take advantage of all of the loopholes, all of the opportunities,
That's right,
all of the write-offs that the government gives us to take advantage of those. But that's ridiculous to think that, that government was going to say, well, if you make more than $25,000 a year, then you shouldn't, that's too much money to make anything. The way I like to relate it is people think of themselves as, I have $1 million in my 401k. That's pretty nice, right? Well, if that's an IRA, that's the 401k. Well, how much money do you really have? Well, it depends, right? It depends what taxes are. If taxes are 80%, which hopefully we'll go down memory lane a little bit today and look at what taxes were historically, especially in wartime, because we keep relating COVID to wartime, right? We have to do whatever it takes. We're in war. And so we're in war, according to the politicians, against COVID. So what's going to happen to taxes? We don't know, but we do know that they're borrowing money like crazy. So if you have that $1 million in your 401k, and taxes are 80%. Well, do you have $1 million or do you have $200,000?
Right. $200,000. Yeah.
Our goal today is to go through how we can take advantage of different things, how you can look ahead, how you can start planning to either get money away and start compounding it inside a tax shelter. We're
Right.
coming up to tax season. There's a lot of cool things you can do. You can make potentially two contributions, one for 2020, one for 2021. And we go through some strategies, how people can take advantage of some of these opportunities that the government has given us to lower taxes, either today or in the future.
Exactly. And Daniel, I'm going to want to have you explain to our listening audience what tax rates have been in the past. I think I know for some of our audience, it's going to certainly surprise them to hear some of the things that you were talking about earlier while we were putting this show together. But I want to remind you and our listening audience, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Adjemi. Today's topic is, if it's tax-free, it's for me. Tax rates are high, but are they historically high? Well, we're looking at that today. And we have a paper to go along with today's show that's called Proactive Tax Saving Strategies. Proactive Tax Saving Strategies. We think this is going to help you to be able to play upon and give you a little bit more information about what we're speaking about today, and then also plan as you go through the year to be able to put yourself in a better situation in the future as far as taxes go. So if you want that report, please ask for the Tax Strategy Report. It's called Proactive Tax Saving Strategies, and you can call 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616. Megan should be picking up the phone and speaking with you when you call. So we'll look forward to getting that out to you as quickly as possible. Daniel, at this point, can you go on and tell us a little bit about that the tax rates that our country has seen in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about this. We've talked about we're huge components of Roth IRAs, of converting to Roth for the right people, for the right situations. There's been plenty of times where we've seen that clients come in and they aren't paying any taxes. And there's a certain amount of money that they are able to move over from their IRAs, their 401ks into Roth and not pay any taxes. And then if they choose, they could go up to maybe the 10 or 12% brackets. So that's one opportunity we absolutely love looking at. Some people, it may not make sense to do it because they're earning a ton of money or something like that. But you got to look at it. You have to look at it because we don't know what taxes will be in the future. You can't say, well, I don't want to pay 25, 30%, whatever today to move this over, if you can't really say what their taxes are going to be in 5 years and 10 years and 15 years from now, because if they're like they were then at 90%, right, that's insane.
Yeah.
It's an interesting history. I didn't believe it until I looked it up, because we talk a lot about how historically we're low. And historically, I guess we're kind of in the middle of the road, but it just depends on what you're earning. So, when taxes started, they were 7%, right? Just nice, simple 7%. And we're talking about federal income tax. We're not talking about state taxes. If you're in California, that's a whole nother story.
And what year was that, Daniel? Wasn't it like 1912 or something?
Yeah, 1913.
Okay.
7%. So it was like 7% for 3 years. And you can deal with that. Like I like driving on nice paved roads, right? I like having police department, having a military. Right. Like maybe our military is a little bigger. They waste money, not the way we would spend the money in the military, right. but frugality is a nice thing sometimes. But absolutely, that's worth 7% of everything I make. I will pay for that to support the government because they're watching out for us typically. Right. And then it bumped up to 15, and you could still deal with 15, right? 15%.
And this is the top bracket, right, Daniel?
These are the top brackets, yeah. But then in 1970, it jumped up all the way to 67%.
Well, it sounded like you said 1970, but I think you mean 17, right? 1917, yeah, 17, like 17. To help with World War I, right? Probably.
Right. in wartime, taxes go up so that they could pay the bills, and the American people got behind that because they wanted to make America great, right? They wanted to protect their freedoms, and they wanted to do these kinds of things. So that was fine. That was a temporary measure. We're going to raise taxes so that we can support the war efforts and things like that, pay down the national debt.
Yeah.
And then it was in the 70s, it was in the 70s for the next few years, and it bounced back. It bounced all around the spot, all around the place. But then it got up in 1940, it was 81%.
Wow. With World War II. Yeah.
And then, it got up to 88%. And then 44 was one of the highs, where it was like 95%.
Right.
Could you imagine you earned $100,000 and you get to keep $5? Now, that's not exactly accurate. You earn $1 million, you keep $5, whatever bracket you want to put it in. But these are rates that actually happen in our country, especially during wartime. And so I'm not saying that we're going to have 100% income tax or 95% income tax. Because then I don't know how the states would get their money, right? That would be
yeah. If we had 100%, nothing left from the state, right?
But the point is, it's something that we need to consider either contributing to Roths. There's something called a rich man's Roth, which is if for people who earn a lot of money, they're able to convert money into these and let it build up tax free. But we have a lot of interesting stuff planned, and kind of explain the way a Roth works. Because a lot of times I will talk to a client or someone and they'll say, wait, the money in my Roth IRA, I don't ever have to pay taxes on that. Once it's in there, I don't have to pay taxes on the growth. I knew I didn't have to pay taxes on the principal, but I don't have to pay taxes on the growth. And It's eye-opening when you start realizing this tool that the government has given us that we can use to accumulate wealth and accumulate it on a tax-free basis.
Right, especially if we put into play compounding interest as opposed to growth. It's phenomenal. So I need to remind our listening audience we need to take a break. And today's topic on financial strategies is, if it's tax-free, it's for me. Talking about taxes and what you can do to not pay as much. Because I don't think whether you're far left, far right, doesn't matter. I think everybody doesn't want to pay more tax than what they have to pay. So that's what we're talking about today. We have a paper to go along with today's show called Proactive Tax Saving Strategies. Ask for it by name, Tax Strategies. Call 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616. We have a limited number of books called Three Blind Mice, and how your attorney, your tax person, and your financial person can all work together, and should be able to work together to create a comprehensive plan for you. That's available. That's written by Scotty McLean down there in New Jersey, Winter Wonderland. And that's available by calling, be one of the next 5 callers at 800-725-7616. We have a limited supply of those, 800-725-7616. We'll be right back after this.
History tells us the market goes up and the market goes down. What would you do if you lost half of your retirement savings? It's time to make the shift to steady, reliable retirement income. And where do you go? The Retirement Income Store. Log on to agemy.com for your free retirement review. That's AGEMY.com. The Retirement Income Store, where retirees go for income.